Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, if you like what you're seeing and you're hearing, do get involved, like, subscribe, do all of that stuff. So today I want to chat a little bit about what's been happening with geese. No, I don't mean the canal side birds that annoy me every morning. I mean the band Geese. They're from New York? Yeah, New York, I think. And they were very popular last year. They kind of broke last year, I suppose. Very well revered, very popular, kind of one of the breakout artists of last year. They were all over the internet, quite difficult to avoid if you're kind of into music or in music circles. But they have been at the centre of a bit of discourse, bit of an argument around sort of are geese industry plants. And this is always a fun one to get involved in because what I can't even be that sure what this means. By the way, every artist who's ever broke of all time is an industry plant to a level. But to be more specific, right? Basically, where this started was a very, very good podcast, sort of live video recording that Billboard did at South by Southwest, where they spoke to the founders of the marketing agency Chaotic Good. And I would definitely recommend that you watch this video because it is really, really informative. But Chaotic Good spoke about the campaign that they did with Geese. So they were quite open about their involvement in what they did. And one of the things that they spoke about that they did was what people in the music industry will know of as burner accounts or content seeding. What this process essentially involves is that a marketing agency or a record label will create at scale social media accounts or burner accounts, which can be used to, well, it can be used for all sorts of different things. It can be used to share content from a specific band. So in the case of Geese, they used it to share live clips, share content about the band, but also engage with that band's activity and, further promote the band. And instead of, 4 or 5 accounts that are sharing this video, it becomes 50 accounts or 500 accounts, right? And this in the social media era is very effective. That getting that scale of noise is a really, really effective way to drive engagement and break bands in 2026, right? And as part of this podcast, Chaotic Good were very transparent about this and were quite upfront in saying this is something that we've done, right? This then led to a few articles online, essentially turning this into the idea that geese are somehow industry plants. If you don't know what an industry plant is, it's essentially a band that has been placed into the music industry ether and invested a lot in by record labels or, I don't know, the Illuminati, pumped money into and made big.
In fact, a psyop, a setup, an industry plant, reminding us that if something seems too good to be true, it might just be.
To the defense of
the whole Geese was a psyop narrative, I think, is just totally missing the point. Really, what this is telling us is...
So there's a lot of people talking about this. Now, I should probably outline a little bit of bias here. I will admit that burner accounts and content seeding and at-scale content marketing is a service that we offer for my company, right? We're not the only ones that do it. It's a quite available service now at kind of all levels, really. Chaotic Good are at the kind of high end of the scale of this in that they're quite expensive to work with, but they do things at massive scale, right? So they are hired by kind of a lot of the time the quite significant major labels and quite significant players. But this burner account strategy, this kind of at scale marketing, it's available lots of places, right? Us specifically, we do it quite a lot and we do it well. So there's been a lot of clutching of pearls around this. A lot of people saying the argument, which I do understand to a degree, is that working with an agency like Chaotic Good, who are the agency that worked with Geese on this, is expensive. That costs a lot of money to get an agency or a team to do something like that, right? And that means that it's a luxury that isn't available to everyone. It's only available to the signed or the rich. So this means that only bands with financial backing or means are able to hire an agency like that is able to manipulate trends and have a monopoly over the online kind of digital music space, right? So the argument is, and the way that a lot of people are seeing it is that because we don't have money, we can't access that. But I don't think that's entirely true. Because to start with, this strategy can be done at all different levels. I think the smarter approach is to look at this and say, right, well, Dave done that. What can I learn from it as someone who doesn't have quite as much money as right? This is probably quite a good time to mention our prices. So we provide the exact same service, and our prices start at just £120 for a campaign. So there are ways to do the same kind of thing with less money and make it more affordable. Like I say, hiring an agency that has a more competitive price point is one. But you could also, there's nothing that this agency hasn't done that you can't apply to your own music. There's no reason why you can't have multiple devices with multiple accounts on them. I understand it's time and it's energy, but you can apply that same theory at a lower scale and do this yourself. My recommendation would be to be a bit more strategic and really think about your niche and really think about the content that works in your target audience. Maybe with your campaign, you can target to go for 40 posts about your band through different accounts rather than 400, right? The other thing that's important to mention as well here is that, again, Chaotic Good. But by the way, do you know who's had the best PR out of all of this? Chaotic Good. I'm a competitor and I'm talking about them on my video. It's mad. But anyway, the other thing that's really important to mention here is that marketing agencies, when they sit on those panels, and trust me, I've been one of them, they only ever talk about the really, really good campaigns. No marketing agency is going on to a panel with Billboard and talking about all of their failures, which they will have. They will have loads of failures. Record labels and marketing agencies, they would have done loads of campaigns with other artists that they've done 100, 1,000 posts for, and it's just not worked. But they never talk about that. So this idea that only the rich and only the haves and only the people who have can do this and can manipulate the internet in this way is just not true, because even when you do have the money and even when you do have the means and you can work with these massive agencies and you can work with these massive labels, it still doesn't always work. Geese are an example of it working, right? And it working really, really well. But in that same time frame, there would have been, that same agency and that same label might have done 4 or 5 campaigns which died a death. Like, yes, it's absolutely true that having the money and the means does give you greater access to fan bases and scale and content, which if you don't have money, you can't. But that doesn't mean it will work. And it also doesn't mean that you, as someone on a more modest budget, can't take those lessons and apply it to a smaller campaign set, such as ours. Head to differentsource.co.uk for our pricing. But yeah, overall, I think there's been a lot of sort of clutching at pearls of this, and I think there's been a lot of moral panic about the idea of industry plants and so on and so forth. But they're not doing anything. Nothing has been done here that hasn't happened since forever. And they've not done anything illegal. They've not done anything nefarious. They've just understood that social media now is scale.